Right, let me tell you about the one thing that absolutely and almost immediately changed my psychological state towards the end of my COVID experience. 2 or 3 weeks ago, you saw that I put a post out that said, yep, okay, I've succumbed to the virus. And hopefully you've seen a bit of a transition from that fairly ashen-faced, energetically depleted David Florence in the first video to the one that you see now. I certainly feel like I've got a lot more energy. Whether or not I'm still ashen-faced, I'm not too sure, but hopefully I've got a bit more color there. I'm able to do a full day of digging, chopping in my gardening job. So I know that I'm much better than I was a few weeks ago. One of the things that knocked me, that really took me by surprise, and I kind of arrogantly thought that I'd be resilient to this, was the heightened anxiety. And it was strange because it led me to quite dark thoughts. Whenever I saw my son, I just wanted to hug him as if I was about to lose him. So I felt quite vulnerable. Again, this really took me by surprise. And that's not me being this kind of, the manly psychology. Though I do have that in me. I know I do. Sometimes I do still have that mindset of, I can push through this. I can force through this. I'm strong enough, I'm resilient enough. I don't need to see the doctor. Now that's a subject that's coming up actually in a conversation with Dr. Elena Serenova. So keep an eye out for that one. Why men don't go to the doctor. I've definitely been that kind of psychology. But my point here is that it took me by surprise because I kind of thought that level of anxiety just wouldn't occur to me during times of illness. But this time it did, and the one thing that absolutely changed my state. Now, this was towards the end of COVID, and this is where I need to add a disclaimer and a bit of a warning. This practice, I don't think, should be practiced during your COVID viral phase if you're really suffering from the respiratory illness itself. Bearing in mind that COVID is respiratory linked, and in my opinion, there are certain practices, in particular the Wim Hof method, so the hyperventilating in particular, the pranayama derived breathwork practice, that could move that virus, if you choose the wrong time to do it, further into your respiratory tract, into your lungs where you really don't want it. So that is my warning and disclaimer. This is not to be done in my opinion, in the really heavy viral phase. You have to figure out when it's the right time. I'm not going to tell you when that is because it could get me into trouble. However, it was the SOMA Breath daily dose, pranayama derived breathwork meditation that totally shook me out of the state that I was in, that negative state. It totally changed. And I chose to do this at the end of the second week. Although energetically I was still depleted, psychologically I was more negative than I would normally be, but I knew that I hadn't really suffered any of the respiratory problems during this. All of the symptoms that I'd experienced were more to do with the aches, the pains, the shivers, the lack of energy, and the psychological problems, etc. So I knew it was okay for me to do this. And in a way, it kind of reminded me of how powerful breathwork is. And in particular, how powerful the SOMA Breath daily doses are. Now, here's a couple of examples from my channel.
And out. 2, 3, 4, 5.
Muscles and gently let go with a sigh. And again, in. But of course, you don't have to just listen and watch the ones on my channel. If you scour YouTube, you'll find lots of different SOMA Breath daily dose practices. Let me show you an example on my speaker and I'll take you through part of it. Okay, let's turn up the speaker a bit. Not too loud, I don't want to break the microphone. Okay, so At this point, you're breathing. The music's building up. You've already done 2 or 3 minutes of inhaling for 4 seconds, exhaling for 8 seconds. Just doing this, even for a few seconds, you can get a sense of the energy you're building up inside. That music guides you. You could do this just through your nose or in through your nose, out through your mouth. You could even do in parts in through the mouth. You can hear the music now really building up. This is guiding you to what's next, the next part of this breathwork phase. You're hyperventilating at the moment with this in for 4, out for 8. The music is building up. It's almost like being in a rave. The music's building up, the DJ's building you up. And then you exhale all the way. And then you hold your breath. The exhale breath hold phase. And this is where it becomes quite meditative. And quite often you get guidance from me or whoever else is guiding you through this breathwork practice. This is a beautiful state to be in. You can often have this state of oneness, of peace, go inside yourself and kind of close your eyes. And then after, depending really on the video or the practitioner, you do that, say, for about a minute, sometimes 2, depending on where you are in your breathwork practice. And then you follow it up with an inhale, and you hold your breath again. And at this point, you then clench the mula bandha, which is the muscles in your perineum. And you clench that and you imagine this energy rising up through your body. And if you want, you can even add a neck lock where you just bring your chin down to your neck. And this energy then pervades the upper torso, and you can imagine it moving round. And then after, say, 30 seconds, you then exhale again. And then you revert to normal breathing, but you focus on the belly. And this is where you're going to start working on the diaphragmatic breathing that you've hopefully been practicing in other breathwork practices. And let's turn down the music. And you would practice that for either 1 round, so that would be the inhale, exhale for 2 or 3 minutes, being guided by the music, following up with the inhale, big deep inhale, then exhale all the way, and you hold your breath once you've exhaled all that air. Yes, it is possible if you're new to this. And then after a while, you then inhale again, hold your breath, and squeeze the mula bandha, the muscles in the perineum, in the sexual area, and then you exhale again. That would be 1 round, and you could just do 1 round, or quite often with the daily dose, the SOMA Breath daily dose, that's 2 rounds of that kind of breath work. That is the thing that took me out of that negative COVID-19 experience. And it's something that obviously I do most days anyway. And I quite often mix it up. You know, some mornings it's 1 round, other mornings it's 5. And that's where I'm really entering a heightened state of well-being. This breath work is very similar to other pranayama-derived breathwork practices. The difference with this one is the music and the guidance. The music also has isochronic tones running over the background, and those isochronic tones further enhance your brainwave patterns. So it's an amazing practice. It's something I've been promoting for years. If you've been following me on my channel, do this with an air of caution. Don't do this kind of breath work if you're suffering any kind of respiratory illness, problems with your breathing, if you have COPD, if you suffer heart arrhythmia. In fact, I'll drop a list of contraindications below. But if you think physically you are fine, this kind of breath work will totally change your psychological state. See you soon. Bye for now.